How's it going, guys? I'm Bagel the Bat, and welcome to Bagel Bytes, where I do a quick review of something in roughly 6 minutes or less. And today, I'm going to review Knights of Guinevere, the latest animated pilot released by Glitch Productions. I'm a huge fan of The Owl House, with one of my favorite videos I've ever written for work discussing its abrupt cancellation by Disney. So when I heard about its production team directly working with Glitch on a new series, let alone for their first 2D animated project ever, I was completely foaming at the mouth waiting for news and a release date. And as expected, Knights of Guinevere did not disappoint. If anything, it left me wanting so much more because I was having such a blast watching it. Being patient for the next episodes to come out will be very difficult for me, to say the least. The story follows Frankie and Andy, two lower-level workers employed by a massive media company named Park Planet. Frankie is a dreamer who cherishes her early memories of meeting Gwen as a kid. She wants to work her way up to repairing robots like Andy, but she's stuck doing various gigs, from manual labor to fixing assembly line machines. Andy is an android surgeon who is chronically overworked and very exhausted, but deeply cares for Frankie as a friend and roommate. During a routine day at work, Frankie rescues and protects an older android model of the park's mascot character, Guinevere. But she doesn't realize this version has been secretly trying to escape the brutal clutches of the Park family for decades. Olivia is the only remaining heir to the Park family and is hooked up to life support, but she's also completely obsessed with controlling Gwen and will stop at nothing to get her back to fix her, just like she did when she was a child. Which, yikes on that front, dude. It's an uphill battle for Frankie and Andy to repair Gwen. They have to avoid rival junkers who want to sell her for scrap and escape from Sir Arthur, a Royal Park defense robot intent on taking her back. But Gwen isn't as helpless as she seems. In fact, she's the one who protects Andy and Frankie from Sir Arthur, slaying it in a bloody mess and collapsing immediately afterwards. At a repair center, they finally get her hooked up and rebooted, with Gwen immediately recognizing them as their childhood selves. This pilot is truly fantastic. It immediately sets up the stakes and conditions of the world they're living in, but has enough mystery and extra detail involved to tease at future episodes. Frankie and Andy are well-realized characters who feel like actual people that are trying to exist in an endlessly hostile world. But personally, I wanted to spend more time with the Park family. I get that they're deliberately intended to be mysterious, but I wanted a more solid understanding of Olivia's motivation. There's a lot of implications that she's developed sociopathic tendencies, both from being completely spoiled and from dealing with some form of childhood trauma or grief. It's possibly related to some other insidious form of abuse within the family, or from the apparent loss of her mother, but they kinda held back on getting into too much too soon. Which I totally get, but I really want to know more about whatever happened to Olivia that left her as this emotionally stunted adult. I got some vague hints of Munchausen syndrome by proxy in here, but I'd love to see more proof for that kind of theory. I really appreciate the approach they took with Guinevere's character too. The obvious signs of long-term abuse on Gwen is very apparent. She's been casually mutilated like a 4-year-old's Barbie doll, but with enough real emotions to know that she's being tortured behind the scenes. Little touches like incorporating how every android version of her has an internal memory bank for guest interactions was a great narrative choice. It parodies Disney's weird emphasis on immersive experiences in their theme parks, but it has horrifying implications that no matter how many times she's abused or manually reset, Gwen can't forget about anything by design. She remembers Frankie selflessly fixing her as a child by later protecting her as an adult, but she has to internalize all the abuse she suffered from Olivia, leading to Gwen eventually escaping after decades of trying. It's so clever, but it's so incredibly sad at the same time. Initially, Knights of Guinevere appears to be a parody of Disney as a brand, and it absolutely is, don't get me wrong, but many of the wasteful and creatively bankrupt decisions coming from Park Planet also mirror today's bloated media landscape. Cash grab IP movies with no creative integrity, rampant consumerism with no concern for environmental waste. These tactics apply to so many companies that it's more reflective of the media industry as a whole and how far they'll go for the sake of greed. I like how unsubtle the crazy amount of eco-waste from the park is, but honestly, it's very fitting. Park Planet functions kinda like the Jetsons, where all the waste is casually dumped into the sea, because if it's out of sight, it's out of mind. But they can't keep up with managing the pollution to the point it's spreading a mysterious illness called blue lung disease, both between the workers and the park guests. So this obsessive need to keep up with consumer demand has made the surface into a toxic waste dump, because the prestige of how orderly Park Planet looks on the surface is what really matters to the company. I will say there are definitely a few moments where they clearly wanted to cram in as much detail as humanly possible. Lots of pause for additional context moments, that is. This was to give folks subtle world building by leaving enough plot Easter eggs for fans to savor over in between episode production time. But this is also the smartest direction they could go in to provide more story in less time without it feeling too cluttered. There will definitely be bigger gaps in between new episodes because this series is 2D animated, which takes substantially more time than its 3D counterparts. But I know it'll be worth the wait, because wanting more that quickly is one of the biggest compliments I can give to any new project like this. Well, that and immediately buying the merch afterwards, obviously. My wallet is going to be very mad at me after this weekend. But those are just my initial thoughts on Knights of Guinevere. What did you guys think about it? Do you have your own theories for where the crew is going to take things from here? Please let me know in the comments down below, and if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to give it a like and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more. Thanks for watching!